What do you make of a guy who tweets in the morning? Nixon didn't know what tweeting was. Tweets out that he taped his meetings and his telephone conversation with James Comey. Why would he say I did that?
I think it was a shot across the bow of James Comey.
But Comey tells the truth, what he's afraid of.
Well, I don't think Trump, A, tweeted. I think it was a shot across the bow, Chris. But I will say I don't think Trump at that point in the administration, the White House, really had a taping system up and operating. But let me say this, Jack Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson.
I know they did.
You got to have it if you got.
I know you did, but can you do it without telling the people at the White House you're doing it? I mean, technically, all those people, they used the officialdom, they used WACA, the White House communications system.
Sure.
They had civil servants, military attachés. How could Trump do it without everybody else knowing about it? Is my question.
I don't think Lavrov and Kisilak walking into that Oval Office didn't think they're being taped from the moment they walked in. I don't know that they were, but they ought to be, because you're going to want to know what he said. Wouldn't we like to know now what was said in that meeting, Chris?
Well, you know who knows? Well, TASS. He brought the TASS news agency. Wouldn't any U.S.
The main
reporters
objections from the press seems to be we weren't allowed in and everybody else was.
Okay, let's talk about the parallels, and there are always some. One's the taping system. You say Nixon should have burnt the tapes, right?
Well, I said that when they were first revealed, and he never did it. But I said, look, keep the Dean tapes because they're going to be subpoenaed, and you ought to have your answer to him. But all this junk talking in there about various things, about congressmen, what's going on, who's been drinking, and who can't.
Yeah, he said Peter Rodino smells and stuff like that. All the bad language. Yeah.
I mean, LBJ, would you want his stuff in there? No.
Should Trump burn his?
No, if he's got the tape made now.
Should he burn it?
Depends what's on it, Chris.
Well, if it's supposed
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, he should not. If he's made it. No, he should not. But he should hold on to it.
Why? Because he can claim that Comey was begging for a renomination, a continuance in office?
You know, I don't think Comey's
How about a loyalty test? Suppose he asked Comey for a loyalty oath.
Well, then that's
he wouldn't want that out.
That comes out of a misunderstanding of the whole federal government, which I agree, Donald Trump is as new to that, Chris, as you and I would be to real estate.
Yeah, but as a citizen, shouldn't he understand checks and balances?
Well, sure. I mean, if he said, look, I want all my guys in my administration, Justice Department to be loyal, I'm sure he didn't mean that this guy should, get in line and do what he wanted him to do.
Let's talk about obstruction of justice. When a guy fires the guy who's investigating him, isn't that obstruction?
No, I don't think.
Well, he said it was the Russian thing.
Well, look, I'll tell you.
Trump said it was the Russian thing was the reason he fired the guy.
Comey's not running the investigation. The FBI investigation continues. If he had shut down the FBI the way Nixon shut down Special Prosecutor Chris Matthews,
but let me just tell you, I beg to differ, because he said I put 20 special agents on the case. He was running the operation.
Let me tell you something.
Comey was running the pursuit of Donald Trump, and Donald Trump said, I'm firing you. Isn't that obstruction?
Comey's got something to answer for himself. This has been going on 10 months. They've been investigating Trump. They got this cloud that he's Putin's puppet over Donald Trump. For 10 months, they haven't got a single connection, no collusion at all been proven.
17 intelligence agencies says the Russians interfered with our election.
All right, look, justice delayed is justice denied, even for the President of the United States.
How can you say there's nothing there, Pat?
Well, because you haven't produced it.
17 agencies said they were colluding to help get our election.
They didn't say collusion at all. They said they were hacking.
Right.
Did Trump hack? No.
I don't know what hacking went. How would Trump hack? I'm talking about what the Russians were doing to turn the election. Are you denying the Russians were trying to turn the election away from Trump, away from Hillary?
I will go along that the Russians really hacked the election, but I don't believe they proved anything against Trump, and I think it's an injustice to the President of the United States to leave this black cloud over his head when you know, and all of the agency guys know, there's no proven collusion yet.
Okay, here, let me ask you this then. When Watergate headquarters of the Democratic National Committee were broken into in June of 1972, and no evidence that Nixon approved the break-in itself, but the cover-up we all know about. He was involved in that.
Sure.
And Trump now denies there was actually a break-in. He denies there was ever a break-in by the Russians. He denies the hacking. He denies it.
Well,
why would he keep denying?
I do believe this.
And why is he fighting this investigation if he's clean?
I believe there is, but I do know there are people skeptical. Bring out all the evidence. Prove it.
Aren't you skeptical if he didn't have something to do with playing footsie with the Russians?
No. Do I believe he colluded?
He just let them help him.
Listen, do I believe he colluded with the Russians? No.
You don't believe it? You don't believe Michael Flynn talked to the Russians about getting rid of the sanctions when we know he did?
Oh, I do. Look, I think...
We know that.
But I think Flynn did this. If he talked to the Russians and said, in effect, don't go get your hair on fire over these sanctions. We've got a new guy in.
Yeah, that's what I think he said.
That's what he ought to say.
But he denied doing that.
Well, that's the problem he had.
Why did he lie? He lied to the vice president. He lied to everybody.
He's gonna have to.
Why so much cover-up, Pat, if there's no crime here? Is what I keep. And everybody watch the show has the same question. Why did Flynn lie about talking to the Russians about relieving the sanctions? Why did he lie to the vice president? Why did he lie about in all his applications about the money he got from the Russians? Just a minute. He got $34,000 to walk over there and sit at a dining table with Putin and Jill Stein, of course.
You're talking about.
Why is this all so secret?
You're talking about legitimate offenses by him, but it was not an offense to talk to Kislyak, in my view, and say, don't get your hair on fire. You're going to have a new president, and don't retaliate for what Barack Obama did. Perfectly legitimate. That's Kissinger to Dobrynin.
You are I know you because Peggy Noonan, our friend, we've all worked together. I've always watched you guys, not together, but I've watched you. You're a good communications director. Reagan did fantastic communications with Reagan. He helped a lot, of course.
Right.
Okay, let's talk about what you would do. If you're sitting in right now and you were lucky to push Jared Kushner aside and Ivanka aside so you get 5 minutes with this guy, what would you tell Trump to get his act together? Just get it together in terms of communicating. Stop tweaking. What would you tell him to do?
Well, I would first tell him that you got to stop this tweeting. Secondly, if you tweet or you're going to tweet, you got to inform your communications people. I don't think people all accusing these guys of lying. Those White House aides aren't lying. They weren't given the information. They got Rosenstein's paper, and they went out and relied on what Trump told them.
That's what I think.
They were misled. I mean, for heaven's sakes, and this idea.
So why did Trump tell them to tell one story, then flipped and told the other story when he got with Lester Holt?
Well, because we'll say this: the staff is not managed well. I mean, Haldeman ran a White House. When I was the communication director, we had a whole strategy.
I understand. He won't allow a Jim Baker
to the
or
president
Haldeman.
And say, here's what we're going to say, Mr. President. Here's what we're going to do.
But he won't allow a chief of staff to organize himself. He won't allow that. There's nobody organizing Trump.
Well, that's exactly. I do agree with that.
By the way, what chief of staff's going to get up at 6 in the morning and watch what he's tweeting? I mean, there's nobody around. I guess Melania's around, but that's
Haldeman would have.
Anyway, Pat. So, do you think he can save this guy?
Do I think he? Look, I don't. I mean.
Do you think he'd reelected?
This is not.
Can he get reelected?
As of right now, I would say he had a rough chance. I would say they could lose. I talked to a congressman, Republican, said we could lose the House right now, as of right now. I think that's very possible. But, and after 40, but I do think you got a point. I don't understand how our side and your side, if you will, Chris, handle the intensity and hostility that is going on back and forth inside this country, in this city, anti-Trump, anti-media.
Well, we went through with Nixon. We threw Jimmy Carter had no walk in the park with the press, I can tell you. Anyway, you write that Nixon loved to spar with the press. In the book, you said he relished these confrontations, which were watched by millions who enjoyed the clashes between the president and an adversarial press. Almost always afterward, Nixon got a boost in the polls. Explain. Well, because I think Trump's numbers aren't going down. They're basically where they were.
What Nixon did, I did his briefing books, and he'd go in and sit on his butt in the EOB, call me, get some more information list, get this, make notes.
He wanted all the questions ahead of time.
Well, yeah, I wrote out all the questions I thought were going to be asked.
And you were right.
One time I was right. He said there were other questions in there that weren't asked.
That's a riot.
Next time, leave those out.
Leave out the ones I don't need.
Nixon saw it as a battle in the arena, and he always went up in the poll because it was a great conflict. It was an early example of what's going on now on cable TV.